All right, folks, well, just a hop, skip, and a jump up to Bob McVay's place. Get ready to rock and roll. Do some dyno stuff. Take all my newfound toys. Grab some Dairy Queen on the way up here. It's quite tasty. Ended up with some ketchup in my beard. That was kind of embarrassing. That's okay. And let's get rocking and rolling. Fortunately for us, everything is still in place from yesterday, so we can just start working from the rip. We don't have to do any real setup work. We're going to start with doing jet changes, and it is a square setup in that carburetor, so we're going to change from, we went from 87s to 91s. We're going to change from 91s to 95s, I believe. And then we'll start changing things from there. So let me get all the pieces, parts inside. We'll get doing it. Going straight to changing out jets. So we're going to go up another 4.
Okay.
So we went from 87s to 91s, 91s to probably 95-ish. Where's that sheet you had that compares the drill sizes? Also, for those curious about our dyno results from yesterday, we did speak with the gentleman that does the dyno software for this thing, so we are able to look at this differently, and we can confirm that it does cross over at 5252 where it's supposed to cross over. It just looks weird on the RPM dyno sheet. On this, it looks improper, but when we do it over time, we can verify, and if we look at the raw data, it does cross over at 5252. In our case, it crossed over at 470 horsepower, 470 foot-pounds of torque, I believe. Hang on. Let me scroll. Lots of data. There you go. At 5251, we had 469.4 horsepower, 469 foot-pounds of torque. So they do cross where they need to be. You can see our AFRs here are still pretty lean. So we're gonna knock that down and go for more fuel. And then as we add more timing to it, it's actually going to lean that out because we're going to actually be introducing more air to that system. So we got to get this part figured out first, and then we'll go after some timing and see where we end up. The nice thing is we've got a lot of data from other dyno pulls to be able to compare to. So like when Eric and Nick were here the other day, they pulled a very similar motor, 406, 10.5 to 1 compression essentially. Very similar motor they pulled. So we can compare and contrast our results versus their results and see exactly where we win, where we lose. We got a lot of stuff to try today, so this is going to be a real busy video. I will try to talk as little as possible, and we'll just get a lot of work done. So I'm sure Bob will appreciate that too. Alright, so we went from 91s to 94s using this little handy dandy graph here about drill sizes and jet sizes. Went to 94s instead of 95s. That should give us a pretty serious step. Let's see what we get different. Tested for fuel leaks, no fuel leaks yet, so we're good to go with that. Just be ready to kick the tires and light the fires. Make sure we got water in the water brake. We're not making any other changes.
What?
And we're not making any other changes, just jet changes.
Yeah.
numbers before we start making a pull. 406 cubic inch small block Chevrolet. Jegs 205 heads. Jegs Cool Gap intake manifold. 535 camshaft. 1.5 rockers on intake and exhaust at this point in time. APM 1050 carburetor. See what she makes. Time to put in your guesses. It up and made less power. Leaner is meaner, right?
That's what I said.
Leaner is meaner. So, cross time graph looks very similar to last time.
Yeah.
What is it? 466 at 5200. 427 at 4100.
Yeah.
So.
And the oil was probably not as
Yeah.
hot as it was yesterday.
Yep.
Where's up there? Yeah, see how it got richer?
Yeah. Got richer and made less power all the way across the board.
Yeah.
Cleaner though.
Cleaner.
But
Cleaner. Let's see.
what's the?
I don't like this RPM.
Yeah.
I don't like it at all.
I agree. It's harder to read.
It makes it much more difficult to read. See, it gained from there to there.
Yeah.
It gained almost a point. Yeah, three quarters of a point.
So the jet change brought half to 3/4 of a point all the way across the board. Still, honestly, a little, depending on which one of these AFR gauges are correct. Somewhere between 12 and a half and 13 and a half, which is within tolerable ranges. The old adage of leaner is meaner, obviously, probably still makes sense. Our AFRs have come down maybe 50 degrees or so. A little more than. So, that's good. You want to throw more jet at it or no?
What?
You want to throw more jet at it or no?
I want to bump up the timing a few degrees.
Go for timing? Okay. Ain't got no gas in it. It's got fuel. No. Like that. So went up from 471 to 479.
Yeah.
And actually made more torque too. So you moved up the power band
Let's see what they
100,
did.
120 RPMs and moved it. Wow. Okay.
All across the board. Liked it all across the board.
Came down and
We got actually it shows it richened it up a little bit.
okay. Yeah, this is 12 and a half is kind of
Yeah.
notoriously where everything likes to be. 50% humidity is good times.
Let me see your spacer. Look at that on the RPM scale. Oh, ain't that a nice pretty?
Yeah, it made more power all the way across.
You see, it took that hump out of it there.
Yep.
You really liked it.
And especially for a dual plane, it doesn't have a lot of wonky crossover. So here's a question: does it make sense to throw more timing at it?
Well, I'm gonna leave it where it's at.
Okay. All right. So open spacer. That's what Eric said we need to use. That's what we will use. You want to make any tweaks at all, or just pull this off, put a spacer on it?
Yeah, put a spacer on it.
Okay. Traditional knowledge says this is going to make horsepower, usually at the cost of torque. It'll move that band just a little bit further. It'll make more power. So we'll see what that does. All right, no more changes, just the spacer, right?
What did you do with the other two nuts that you had on there? They had shoulders on them. They should have.
Oh, the black ones?
Black washer on them.
I had black ones that were down in there.
Like keeping the same.
Alright, so 1-inch spacer, not touching anything else. Alright, we had 479 on the last pull with just timing added. Now we got a 1-inch spacer on it. How much do we pick up? How much do we lose in torque? Do we pick anything up? I'd say we're gonna get, I'll see 5 horsepower, lose 3 foot-pounds of torque. That's my guess. What do you think? Exactly what I said it would do. Steal from the torque, hand it to the horsepower. So 483 and 526. I don't know that I would run that spacer. So this is the run without the spacer. That's the run with the spacer. The amount of time under the curve here, that you're missing torque.
Yeah, but it's only.
I mean, the split is not insignificant. It's
Probably 10.
20 foot-pounds of torque difference between those two.
It depends on what you're wanting.
10 to 20.
Whether you want it on the car or not.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to pick up a little bit.
Yeah, you gain a little bit out on top.
And the question would also be, is there more timing that you could throw into that thing that would make any difference?
But if you look at the...
What's the plug look like?
I mean... I guess to me it isn't worth the timing isn't worth it.
Yeah, if it's going to put it into the danger realm.
Yeah. If you're if you get, maybe like you're gonna get 20 horsepower or more.
Yeah, out of a degree of timing, 2 degrees of timing. You want to switch to the other plugs that I've got? I got a brand new set of 9s.
I think I've been here before, is why I'm saying that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Done this rodeo before?
Yeah. I think we're just squeezing.
Yeah. So you want to go 1.6 on the exhaust?
Yeah.
Okay. So pull valve covers off. Switch to
So what we could do is pull the plugs out of it, and the man help us turn it over and exhaust.
And then we'll put the new plugs in it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, pull valve covers, we're going to pull the plugs out, make it easier to roll this thing over. We're going to put the new spark plugs in it, and 1/6 1/6 rockers just on the exhaust and see if that helps us out. The question really is, where's the restriction in the system? Is it on the breathing inside or is it on the exhaling side? So the 1/6 rocker should help us expel that exhaust gas. We'll see what it does. The nice thing about doing this on a dyno is you can really truly actually test and verify this kind of thing. Oh, come on. We'll see what that does. Ready? Fuel on. Stuff. Rockers are hitting the valve covers. So Bob's going to get some real race car valve covers. We'll see what happens. Didn't care.
Wants to run backwards.
It wants to run backwards. So,
that didn't matter. Lost 10 horse.
Lost 10 horsepower. So it almost, it made power down a little bit more down low and lost it up top. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. That's not what I was expecting. AFRs more or less are unchanged, but
more or less, yes.
I mean, would you want more timing? with that?
No. I mean, it isn't like we're trying to go from
Right.
25 to 35 degrees. We're trying to go 2 degrees.
Right.
To get 2 or 3 horsepower isn't the option. I'm trying to get 20 horsepower.
Right.
And if I can't make it there, I mean, I don't think it's going to make it.
Okay. So, you want to switch back to the 1.5s, take the 1.6s off?
Well, we can, but I think I don't think there's any change in valve lash or any of that type of stuff. If you're going to change something, you got to change the intake. I mean, we can put the 1.5s on there, but it did not change it.
Yeah.
It lost.
It lost power. And it lost it in like a usable range too.
Yeah.
So.
I'm kind of shocked.
I am too. Well.
So we went from
So for all of you guys who want to see the cam card, there she is. So we're essentially multiplying this because this is factored at a 1.5. And when you do it with a 1.6, it becomes, instead of like a 550, it becomes like a 580 lift, but only on the exhaust. But that also changes a lot of other things as far as how long that goes. So what we're going to try next is going to be new intake rockers. So we'll see whether or not this makes any difference. And if it doesn't, we'll take this thing all the way back to 1.5 rockers and valve covers that we used before. Now I do still have the other carburetor that we can throw at this. We could probably add a little bit more timing, but it's probably not going to make that much difference. And also you get to the point where you don't really want to run this thing on, at 10/10. You don't want to run on the ragged edge of max power if it's more stressful or more dangerous on the engine. Splitting hairs over 5, 6, 7, 8 horsepower, you're not going to feel that in the butt dyno anyway. So why put the extra strain and stress and risk on an engine that's not going to be drag racing? This is a drag and drive hot rod power tour motor. It's supposed to be great in a car and be able to drive from point A to point B, put 12 or 1,300 miles on this thing, cruise, make good noises, and it would still make a hell of a pass. It's not like it's a dog of a motor. It would make plenty of power. But it is what it is. So pull these 1.5 intake rockers off here. We'll get them swapped out and see if we make any power. What do you guys think so far? Where do you think our bottleneck is? Where do you think our restriction in power is? It makes plenty of torque. 530 foot-pounds of torque is great. But where's our issue with horsepower? Why is it not making more horsepower than it is? It's got a 1050 ATM on it. It's got a 1-inch spacer on it. It's got a dual plane intake manifold, but it is the air rise one, so it should be good as far as airflow goes. Got 205cc intake runner heads, 10.5 to 1 compression on the bottom end. Pretty decent camshaft. Where's our restriction? Maybe it's an intake rockers. We'll find that out in a second. All right, all 1.6 rockers. Still in the old plugs. We haven't changed those yet. Try and keep these one variable at a time. This is gonna make more power? No. No idea.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Think we're gonna lose power?
It's possible.
What? Because those race car valve covers you put on here. No other changes, just rocker change. So we should be 580, somewhere in that range. Max lift, I think, on these heads is 600, if I remember correctly. So interesting to see whether or not this makes more power, or if we lose power. Please don't lose more power. Oddly, our max power run of the entire day has been just playing with timing. No carb spacer, no fancy rockers, just timing. Technically speaking, we made more horsepower with the spacer, but we robbed so much torque out of it. I would rather have that 20 foot-pounds of torque over that 2,000 RPM spread than a little bit of peak horsepower for a little bit of time. So that's why you test these things. What in the world?
Also, I'm gonna explain something to you. Dyno number has never won the fucking race. Never.
I know.
Never has won the race off the dyno.
But all the expensive things and all the fancy tricks are making it less powerful. Hang on a second. It made shitloads more torque up here.
And then laid over.
And then laid over. Ah! The FR stayed pretty much where it needs to.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the answer to that? Alright, so that's with the 1.6 exhaust rocker. That's with the 1.6 exhaust and intake rocker. So by giving it the intake rocker, we picked up a bunch of torque here, but we actually ended up losing torque out here, which means we lose horsepower out here, which is very interesting. I'm more for, I'd like that low end torque, especially for a street drivable motor. Let's drop this one out and compare that against this one, which was just timing on the 1.5 rockers. And it made almost the identical sweep in torque, and then it carried it better. That was not what I expected. Not at all. What's in your mind?
Processing.
Processing, please wait.
What?
What? You guys working hard? Now this is my kind of work right here.
Yeah, I know.
Me talking, somebody else working. All right, so just got off the phone with Eric Weingartner. He who knows all of the things about head flow and all that kind of thing. We do not know what these heads flow. If they are 240 CFM at 550 lift, we're probably running into a restriction as far as the intake goes. What we are going to try next is we're going to flop those rocker setups. So we're going to actually, instead of running 1.6s on the exhaust and 1.5s on the intake, we're going to flop that around. We're going to run 1.6s on the intake, 1.5 on the exhaust to see if that gives us a better power band, I guess, would be the right answer, because doing it off the exhaust only did not make sense. Doing it off the exhaust and intake did improve it back to kind of where it was, but it's still down on power. Oddly, the best power we've made thus far is just literally off of timing and some jetting. Also, I think I'm going to clean up one of those plugs real quick, and I'm going to pull that. I'm going to make one pull on it. This is a suggestion from Eric, so good call on this. I'm going to clean up one plug. I'm going to pull it on this thing one time, pull that plug back out, and see what it looks like. Because I guess at some point in time, we're kind of questioning whether or not our AFR readings are kind of correct or not. Because if you look at the plug, the strap looks like it's right, but the ring is pretty black on all of them. So we're getting a little questioning there on how that is. So we're going to test a couple of things that right now. We're going to get those rockers swapped out, go back to 1.5s on the exhaust stick with 1.6s on the intake, and then go from there. I also don't imagine this is an intake restriction. It's possible, but I don't feel like it's an intake restriction. A lot of variables involved in this hobby, and they're all fun. Get back with you in a minute. Exhaust 1.5s. Intake 1.6s.
I'm starting to fall asleep over here. Doing this so many times.
You're getting really good at it, though.
Not that.
Whoa, almost 200?
210.
Whoa.
20, and I can get 205.
Whoa. That's a lot of crank compression. Some heat back in this thing because it's been a little while since we had it down. Check, make sure we don't run out of fuel. Yeah, got plenty of fuel. So this is 1.6 on the intakes, 1.5 on the exhaust. Timing's the same, jets are the same, nothing else changed. Please God, find me my horsepower I'm missing. Okay, so, you can tell by my face I'm not excited about this. There's our run that we just finished. Peak power is 467 horsepower at 5166, and peak torque is 531 at 4,000. But if we compare this versus the last one where we ran 1.6 on intake and exhaust, so it picked up torque down here, but it's losing horsepower as it goes up in the RPM range, which is frustrating. And if we load it versus our first test of today, when we did jets and no other changes, That's the
Going to spin these plugs out.
that's the most recent run.
Yep.
So it is making more torque down here on the bottom end. And we are seeing a bit more of that transition with the dual plane. But it still is just not carrying out up here. I apologize, I'm sure this is probably annoying to watch me do this. But if we compare this to the timing and the jets. So this is our most recent run. This is 460, 468 and 531 versus that run. That was jet changes, so we were nice on the jets, and 36 degrees of timing, which we have not changed. And look at that differentiation on the top end, where it's losing power across here. It's just losing power all the way across, which is really wild. We're down 100 RPMs on our max power. Or, excuse me, 300 RPMs on max power. Torque is basically the same. So, it doesn't like the rocker change. It does not like the 1.6 rocker change, which is wild. All right, we are back to where we were 4 hours ago. 1.5 rockers on intake and exhaust. Spacer's still on there. Timing is still set at 36 degrees. Jets have not been changed. So we're going to use this as a kind of a repeat run to see if we can back up what we had done before with the spacer on it. And then I have no idea what we're going to do. We're all running out of thoughts. I guess maybe pull the intake manifold and see if our restriction is in the intake. Maybe. Just throw a big single plane on it and see what happens. I can't imagine that that's our problem, but maybe.
I hope and pray that it does.
Get better.
It better. I was concerned.
Yeah.
I really was.
Starting to worry that something would hurt? Or something was wrong?
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
I'm still thinking why?
Why?
Drop out that one and add that one. Those two should lay over each other, which they basically do.
We got another one on there,
Yeah. Okay. Replicating results. There you go.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any replicated or than that. You're within numerical doesn't make difference. Okay. So we're back to where we were at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So what's the answer now?
Well,
Fried chicken, peanut butter pie, and things like that.
Pizza Hut.
Oh man, I can't believe I didn't know there was a Pizza Hut buffet up here. I'm all in for that.
Oh my.
So 480 horsepower, 526 foot-pounds of torque again. And that's basically where we were before. If we go here and we load in, drop this one out, drop this one in. So this is the one where if we take the spacer away, and this is over time, just so you understand here, this graph is going to look a little bit different. But you can see over time, where it made more torque without that spacer. And then it made a little bit of difference as far as the actual horsepower goes, but honestly, not enough for me to think about actually running that spacer. I'd prefer to have this torque. So what do you want to go to? Big single flame?
Yeah, the only one we got.
See what it does? That way we can verify whether or not it's a... Do you want it, before we switch the intake, do you want to put that Brawler on this thing or no?
I can.
It's up to you.
Yeah, that's fine. It's got to be on there sometime.
Yeah.
That's fine.
You want to put that Brawler on it real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. Swap the carburetor real quick.
I mean, the Brawler, we got to get it to where it's ready for you to put in the car.
Right.
With your stuff.
Right.
And
Because ideally that's the idea with this is
it's originally built for this.
take it off this and stick it in that,
Yeah.
hit the button, make it happen. Alright, let's get the carburetor swap going on.
I mean, either that or we could just put the carburetor on it, let it go, and do all that later.
I mean, that's, realistically speaking, if we want to do that, I'm fine with that. Because we're, at this point in time, we're spinning tires and wasting time. Does it make sense to just go ahead and put the carburetor on it, leave the intake and stuff, and when we decide to pull the motor out of the car, we can test a bunch of other stuff?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Less headache for you, hopefully. Alright, so Brawler 850 mechanical secondaries, let's go get that swap done. Alright, Brawler 850 CFM mechanical secondaries. That'll do. And it's purple. It's purple.
So do you want the spacer plate in or not?
No, I don't think so. I think we take the spacer out of it. Because I want the torque more than I want 3 horsepower. Really clean. Like scary clean.
That's what we are. We're scary. I just wanted to make sure my ATM won the battle.
So 470 horsepower and 523 foot-pounds of torque.
Yeah.
And then compare that with, scroll up, that run. Okay. So, man, those are not far off.
I still like this one.
Yeah, you still made more power.
Well, but I like this graph better.
Yeah, I agree.
I understand the other graph breaks it down finer,
Yeah.
which is kind of neat, but it's not. It's okay. I think it's a tad leaner. Oh, that's 3. Let's see this one. Yeah,
It's richer.
Yeah, it's richer. It's right in there.
I think we gotta take a couple of jets out of it. And I bet you those lines line up. It's interesting that doesn't change anything really at all.
But then, you know, when we richened it up with the other carburetor, you know, it really didn't pick up much in
It
power.
just cleaned up the
Yeah.
graph.
You know, it's how smooth that is.
Yeah.
Because I think if it's lean, you're going to see a little bit more of a dippity-doo in the torque side. So you put on, what you want to do is stick this one off and put on this one. And so
That's the one. That's the last run.
that's your last run. But see how smooth it is?
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to.
How rich?
And that's where we need to replace those freaking oxygen sensors.
Yeah, but it's reading like 10 to 1.
Well, yeah, the
10,
one
5.
is. And
The other one's reading like 12 and a half.
so you want to take out 2?
I'd say take 2. I have absolutely no idea what jets are in this thing. No idea. Take a little bit out of it. You already. Well, did you play with timing at all, or is it still where it was?
Still where it was.
Well, it's not a carburetor issue. We ruled that out.
What?
Said, well, it's not a carburetor issue. We ruled that out.
No.
Apparently, I need to buy Bob a starter too. I would go outside and film it, but it's currently raining. If it decides to stop raining here shortly, I'll go out and get you an outside shot. So we have bumped the jets down to try to lean this thing out a little bit. Leaner is meaner. We're not off by much. We're off a little less than 10 horsepower, a little less than 10 foot-pounds of torque versus the 1050. So we're about a half a point of AFR difference. Hopefully this fixes it. It's a pretty big step in the jet change there. We'll see. Hopefully it doesn't go too lean. We'll see if it makes more power. Hopefully so. What jet did you go from?
What?
What did you change jet-wise? What did you go from? An 84 to 82 or
76 to 74.
okay. So it's not square. So it is set up as a street drivable carb. It's not square jets. So it went down like 3 sizes on all 4 corners. We'll see what she does.
Leaner is meaner.
Leaner is meaner, but it didn't go crazy lean. I think we're within spitting distance of where that 1050 is. So the one that's toggling up is the pre-jet change. You drop that out,
Oh, yeah, it is.
so it made more power all across the band. Which it does, that's what happens. So 475 and 530. Not bad. And if we lay that over jet change and timing from this one, I mean, come on now. That's barely any difference at all. Or maybe we're 4 or 5 foot-pounds of torque difference all the way through that. I think that's a winner, buddy. I think that's a winner. And it ultimately makes 10 horsepower difference on the top end, but that's all right. We still don't know where our restriction is, but we are thinking intake.
You know, Eric would like to see us put the other camshaft in it,
Yeah,
but we're not going to do that for this deal.
we don't have time for that.
We don't have time for that. The only thing about it is that intake is leaking, I think, a little oil out the back. Originally it was leaking a little water out the front. if we was to put the other single plane intake on there, it would give us an indication of how that camshaft liked the big intake.
That's true.
And then when it comes back in and it goes and we send those heads off. But then again, when we want to test those heads, after Eric redoes them, if that's what happens, I'd like to test it with that camshaft.
With the one that's in it now? Yeah, so you can keep as much apples to apples.
Yeah, so I think we leave it alone and then...
Do you want to test it with the intake on it, with a single plane in this configuration, or do you want to do it after the...
Well, I'm saying is this say...
Because we got to pull that intake anyway, right?
Well, I think so. I think it'd be wise. I think it would be wise.
I'm honestly okay with pull it, reseal it, and we'll deal with it later. Yeah. I think we've got enough data, we've done enough testing, that this is more than capable motor for what we're looking to do.
Oh yeah, it'll be a decent motor, I think, for you to go out and have some fun with.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
With the hydraulic roller and stuff. I mean, we've pulled it a shitload of times, so.
Yeah, so I think that's where we're in this. We threw a bunch of things at it, tried a bunch of different types of things, rockers, jets, timing, spacers, you name it, whatever it is, and it turns out, get the jets correctly and let it eat. Nothing else really made power that's real useful, which is interesting. There's no doubt locked away potential in this thing. The way you can look at that power curve, what this thing should be able to pull, it should be able to make real good power. What we will probably do next is we will run this thing on Power Tour and do a couple of other things with it, and then when we're done with that, we will bring it back here, we will baseline it again, we will swap out the intake manifold to a high-rise single plane and see what it does, and then take it apart, send the heads off to Eric Wingart, have him do head work on this thing, flow the heads as they are, flow the heads after he does his thing, and then bring it back here, put it back together again, and see what the difference is. I think there's a lot of power to be made there. Again, this is a real budget-minded stuff. I mean, this is not like high-dollar parts what we're putting into this thing. Yeah, it's got a pretty good scat rotating assembly, but this is not anything that's any different than you would make on a small block Chevy. It's nothing different than that. So, you know, if you're being budget-minded, this is pretty much where you'd be. So, at the end of the day, we made 475 horsepower, 530 foot-pounds of torque. I think it'll be great. It'll be a great little hot rod motor. It'll play a great tune out the side pipes. I think it'll be a ton of fun. So, we're going to end up this experience here with Bob. This has been a long couple of days. I truly, massively appreciate Bob giving me these days to be able to do all this stuff and test all this. At the end of this whole experience, this motor is going to end up in one of Bob's friends' cars. Because that's what you do, is you help your friends. So we're going to end up donating essentially this entire top end kit to that gentleman for letting us use his bottom end on Power Tour and for the first part of the summer. So the nice thing is this thing will live on in something else. I think he's got a second gen Camaro that this is going to live in, and it should be awesome. Plus we're going to make it better when we bring it back and take it back apart. So huge thank you to everybody that's watched this stuff. Huge thank you to all you guys that keep coming back to my videos and watching these. You guys watching it is what helps me pay the bills and be able to do this kind of stuff. So without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do this. So thank you guys all so much. If you want to put it up with me some more and you want to watch this kind of thing, if you want to see my hot rod Power Tour adventures, some of that will be here. Some of it will be over on the Lucor Automotive channel, where I actually work, what I do for my day job. And we do daily coverage on hot rod Power Tour. So there'll be a lot more of that stuff to come. Hope you guys tune in for that. I will see you on the next one. See if Bob's got any words of wisdom. Bob, you got any words of wisdom?
So I want a big shout out to the people, the companies that I have a relationship with through Bill, that I reach out to communicate with, to learn from, and they probably don't get enough notice or recognition. Because a lot of times, I'm speaking for Bill, I don't think we do enough of thanking you guys for doing that. And Melling, I mean, they have really reached out to me, or I've reached out to them in conversation about some stuff. I want to thank them personally. But everybody that that does work with us, work with me, that I talk to, I do thank you.
All right, guys. Take care. Appreciate you. Bye-bye.